Most of us have grown up in a Western healthcare system, trained to see the doctor only when we're sick and in need of a diagnosis or some treatment. And let's be honest, how lucky we are to have a system that is there when we need it. But here's the thing, a lifetime of 15-minute appointments have left many of us knowing surprisingly little about our own precious bodies and the systems within. And when we're in our 20s and 30s, it probably doesn't matter so much. But as we age, something does shift and we realize our health isn't guaranteed. In fact, our health is everything. We're no longer looking for another quick fix, and I think we're ready to explore something deeper, something new, or in this case, perhaps something ancient. That's when we start to discover paths like East Asian medicine, systems grounded in thousands of years of wisdom, whole body thinking, and a deep respect for the rhythms and energy that shape our health. Today's guest is Dr. Jennifer Ashby. She is a leading doctor in East Asian medicine, helping women reconnect with their bodies in simple, practical, and life changing ways. Dr. Jennifer Ashby, it is wonderful to have you with us here at the Aging Project.
Lovely to be here. I'm honored.
Well, let's start with how you, as a Westerner, blend this combination of Eastern and Western practices. Tell us a little bit about your story and how this became such a passion for you.
So I actually found it by accident. I was in Mexico riding motorcycles in Baja. My little sister was graduating from high school, didn't know what she wanted to do with her life. And in an abridged version, I took her to an interview at a Chinese medicine school, and she fell asleep and I applied. And I'd never had acupuncture. But it has been my one career my entire life. Um, I've been at it now for over 30 years. And when about 11 years ago, when I started in a big Western medical institution, I realized that I was able to interpret Western medical diagnoses and treatments and pharmacology into Eastern medical terms. And by doing that, I was able to give a treatment plan that was so all inclusive, and it really helped me with outcomes with some very medically complex patients.
Where do you think the divide happened, or was it always a completely separate operation, basically between East and West?
It's still a really separate operation. I think that I have the privilege of being in one of the few institutions that is curious enough and sees the value enough to kind of put their necks out for something that is not mainstream, like biomedical medicine, and outcomes speak for themselves. So once we're able to get a foothold in an institution, um, it speaks for itself. And now we are a team of six at the University of California, San Francisco, which I never would have dreamed would have happened 20 years ago.
I think for a young woman riding a motorcycle through Mexico, perhaps you're always destined for something a little bit different.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. You might be, you may be right.
So what has it taught you about, I guess, the body as a whole, not just referring to East Asian medicine, but how this whole amazing system that's within us works?
So I think it's important to say that it has ended up raising me. I was bartending my way through university, riding my motorcycle to work, still drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. When I started in this field, I was far from being a vegetarian or listening to the Grateful Dead. That was not my scene at all. And so I feel like the medicine itself raised me. It certainly raised my three children. And what it has taught me, I think, if I were to can all of its lessons, is that nothing is separate, that we influence and affect one another and one another's health, our environments, everything affects everything. And to choose wisely means that you will have greater vitality and better be able to avoid illness and have more stable moods and stronger immune systems. So, in a nutshell.
100% absolutely worth exploring. And I'm sure a lot of us perhaps dabbled in what we call here in Australia, perhaps Chinese medicine. And usually it comes down to some funky tasting herbs that no one really sees out the course of. Perhaps we've had some acupuncture or needling. Perhaps there's been a little bit of lymphatic work along the way. What is East Asian medicine?
Such a good question. You guys have a rather robust East Asian medicine world in Australia, by the way, and some of our greatest minds come from your continent, which is fabulous. Um, some really forward thinkers as well. East Asian medicine is a whole system medicine that considers an entire person. And I like to do it. Well, let me start by saying that the understanding of East Asian medicine is really balanced physiology. So, what we're looking to do is to achieve homeostasis or balanced physiology. And if we can all agree that a body, when it can and given the opportunity, will return to a state of balance, you then understand the goal of every Chinese medicine, East Asian medicine practitioner in the world. It is, people say acupuncture a lot. You brought up herbs. I always say we've got two flavors of herbs, swamp sludge and what do I say? And tree bark. Those are the only two flavors you get. And that's if you're cooking them raw. But acupuncture and Chinese medicine, people think of it synonymous with acupuncture. Research focuses on acupuncture. Um, that we have any good outcomes and efficacy with just doing acupuncture and randomized controlled trials. I think kudos to poor acupuncture because it was never ever meant to be performed isolated by
Mhm.
itself.
Mhm.
So the whole body of medicine includes acupuncture and herbs, but also physical techniques like gua sha and cupping and shoni shin and tui na and I said gua sha. It also includes tai chi and qigong, but in order to achieve the best outcomes, Chinese medicine practitioners are trained in lifestyle modification and skill building.
Mhm.
And that's what my system is built upon. So we I say we get all up in your business, right? We want to know how you poop and how you eat and how you sleep. We want to know all about your menstrual cycles. We want to know all about your menopause. We want the details
Mhm.
because the details lead us to an understanding of where your imbalance came from and where it's at this point. When you're with a practitioner, we read tongues and pulses, which seems like magic, and it's totally not. They're just arts and skills, like any diagnostic method is. One of my favorite things to do, I lecture a lot to medical students at University of California, San Francisco. One of my favorite things to do is to go around the room and feel their pulses, look at their tongues, and whisper in their ear what their ailments are. And they're like, yeah, yeah.
My
So
God.
I know it's like they, to them, it's like a magic trick. And to me, it's just work, right? Um, so East Asian medicine encompasses a huge array of techniques and practices. And we use this as this whole body. And the beauty of the whole body is that you have your physical, your emotional, and your spiritual part of yourself. But in Chinese medicine, there is no true language to separate those components of a person. Everything affects everything. The way you feel physically is going to affect you emotionally. You're in a spiritual crisis. Eventually, you're going to get sick too. Like, there's no way to separate you, that holy trinity of you. There's no way to separate it because you're just one person.
A quick pause for anyone interested in joining our DNA testing program in partnership with FitGenes, a world-leading genetics company. So many of you have already joined our FitGenes community. So now, for anyone who hasn't, it's your turn. Get to know your genes with us. When you know your genes and your unique genetic breaks, you can do something about it. For us here at the Aging Project, we've learned it's the best first step in our aging well journey. If you'd like to learn more, visit theagingproject.com and join the Fit Genes waitlist. We'll send you all the details so you can get started. So I think we bank on the fact that technology, science is the basis of good medicine. But East
Mm.
Asian medicine has been around long before any of that, thousands of years. So when you're talking about the origins of it, it basically was, I guess, that one person or maybe many people in a community or a village that could read these signs. And did everyone know everything about everybody because we lived in closer quarters and we were more aware of all these things 2,000 years ago?
I mean, I think all of that is true. I think any whole system of medicine that's empirical, meaning that it has been developed over observation, time, and careful record keeping, which East Asian medicine is. And we say East Asian medicine now because it's not just Chinese, it's Korean, it's Tibetan, it's Japanese. It's a system that is very similar, very, very similar, but it's not just Chinese. So East Asian medicine is an empirical medicine. And through anything developed over observation is looking for patterns. And patterns is what end up being part of the written history. And those patterns get refined over years and as things change and more knowledge is added. But when you are in a small community and you are watching, oh, when it's cold, people get colds. People must catch cold. How do you then prevent people from catching cold? When people catch cold, they have these symptoms. It's predictable every year when it gets cold. Wait, you didn't get a cold. You didn't catch cold. What were you doing? Oh, these people ate that when they catch cold and they get rid of cold faster. So I think it's one of the things that I love about it so much is it's so logical that it's almost poetic in modern world. And the logic of it has become, um, I'm a very science-based, I'm going to back up. I'm a very science-based Eastern medicine practitioner. I love science. I love research. I love it when I get to combine the two in ways that don't bastardize the East Asian medicine. I don't try to bend and tweak the science too much. But when you overcomplicate or when you overanalyze systems that are made to be seen and practiced at their most basic foundational level, you're missing the point. So yes, to your point, being in a small community, knowing all the members of the community, knowing your seasonal changes, knowing what foods are available when those seasons change, know that your energy expenditure is different in summer than it is in winter because the days are longer than when the days are shorter. So living in rhythm showed a certain level of health, and living out of rhythm showed a level of dis-ease, right?
Mhm. So were people, again, back, I guess, 2,000 years ago, obviously more responsible for their own health journey? I think now we kind of outsource so many things. We also outsource our health. Is there a time when we were much more in touch with how our systems worked and how our bodies were functioning, and when we started to feel bad? I think now we also get to a point where we go, oh, gee, I felt like that for so long, I can't even remember when that pain kicked in or when that ache started.
Yes. Yes, there was a time. I'm actually writing a chapter on that right now. Attitudes toward health have changed as biomedicine, Western biomedicine became the dominant voice. And through that transition, which is also crazy important, I am not anti Western medicine at all, but it became so dominant that it left out all the other systems as valid forms of approaching wellness and health.
Mhm.
When we got to a place where I'm going to speak from a female perspective right now, which I think is appropriate on this platform. When through history we got to a place where women weren't being a matriarchal society wasn't good, when we went from polytheism to monotheism, when women were viewed as for the virtue of reproduction as their primary virtue, things changed in terms of attitudes about our bodies and menstruation and childbirth. As I've looked back historically, as I'm actually writing something right now, it seemed like, at least for women, that would have been the first signs of us um, turning our other cheek to what we were experiencing, right? And when the people who had been treating menstrual cramps, helping birth, doing things that maybe other people couldn't do, they were then shunned or burned. Or so there's historical relevance to why, how this has all progressed to, God, I can't remember when I stopped sleeping. Gosh, I can't remember when that left shoulder started to hurt. Um, and it's only gotten worse as we become more dissociated from our physical, emotional, spiritual selves and nature and our external environment. I find that when I'm explaining the most basic foundational difference between Eastern medicine and Western medicine is that in Western medicine, your physical body is the macrocosm, and the components of your gene, your genome, or the components of your cellular material are the microcosm. Those are the smallest things we look at. In East Asian medicines, it's the opposite. The body's the smallest thing we look at. And the universe is the macrocosm. It's the largest. Everything you come into contact with in your life, we consider, because it affects your wellness, it affects your well-being, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So we approach it completely different from the start. And when you're paying attention to a whole person system of medicine, it's very hard to say, ooh, when did my left shoulder start hurting? Right? It's like, oh, wait, it started to rain and my left shoulder started hurting. So, or I haven't menstruated in 6 months and my knees are giving me trouble. So it just depends on how you're focusing, where your focus is.
Hmm. If you had to book a GP's appointment, I wouldn't imagine there is a human on the planet that would walk in and say, "Yes, I've booked an appointment. Thank you for seeing me." And the doctor says, "So, what's wrong?" You go, "Nothing. I'm just here for, I don't know, a tune-up." I'm not sure what you would call it. But I'm imagining when you meet with an East Asian practitioner, it's quite okay to say, "I'm just here to see you. Where do we begin?" As a more holistic approach, you don't have to go with an ailment of sorts.
That's true. I wish it happened more, but it does happen. I have a patient that oh my goodness, I've seen her since we were both in our 20s. And now her teenage daughters come to see me, and she brings them twice a year, no matter what happens,
Mhm.
winter and summer solstice, so that they can come and talk to me about stress, how they're sleeping, and how their periods are, whether they are having
Mhm.
trouble or not. And I was like, oh God, if we had all only raised our daughters that way. So yes, I have people come in and I say, so the first thing I always say to people is, how can I be of service? What can I do for you today? Tell me everything. And I give
Mhm.
enough time. Some patients have 20 to 30 minutes, some patients have an hour, but that's just to talk.
Mhm.
Um, and so people do come in and say, I'm here for a tune up, or I've got a stressful thing coming up, or a stressful thing just happened, or, I don't want to get bronchitis again this year, whatever it is. I'm trying to get pregnant. Like, let's get ready. Let's tune me up. I definitely,
Mhm.
definitely have that experience. But I also help people die, right? I help people that are terminal get as comfortable in themselves, their whole selves as possible. I also help people be born. I help people get pregnant. Um, so yeah, it runs the gamut, and I think it does for most practitioners.
I can see why the demand for East Asian medicine and practitioners is growing so rapidly now. I feel like we are in a bit of an awakening period, whether it's just my age group, whether we as Gen Xers just want more answers to everything and we don't want to do it the same way that our parents have. We don't want to age the same way that our parents have. Is there enough of you, Jennifer, to go around? Where do you find a holistic practitioner? I guess now we're talking about, we're not just looking for an acupuncturist or an osteo. You want someone sort of with a well-rounded, I guess, an holistic approach to
Mhm.
health.
I think that I don't know what the licensing is like in Australia, but considering how large of an industry it is there, I'm assuming it's fairly rigorous and upholds some pretty fabulous standards as it does here in the States um, and like in England as well. I think that if you're really looking for someone that is able to have a 20,000-foot view, because honestly, most of what I do is lifestyle coaching. I just do it all through the lens of East Asian medicine. And so I think years of experience is what matters. And then also finding somebody that you gel with. I tell people, call 3 people. You'll know who you want to see the minute you talk to them. You'll just know. It's a very interpersonal relationship because we are all up in your business, and you do come see us to fix physical, spiritual, and emotional things. And my patient population has aged with me. I'm 58 years old. I actually don't mind aging. I just don't want to do it the way the previous generations in my family did, right? And the one of the another very attractive component of East Asian medicine to me is that we are preventative medicine. And and there's a whole theory about holding on to what you have instead of running to try to pull it back. So if you have health, maintain health. And so that's what I teach. It's more about maintaining what you got instead of running and trying to pick up what you've lost. And so years of experience, people specialize as well in fertility and oncology and women's health. And like there are specialists. And hopefully by the time someone's become a specialist, they have enough years under their belt that they have all kinds of yummy pearls of wisdom to share. They're just a wealth of just juicy knowledge. And we like to give it away. Like that's our whole job is to teach you and give you everything that we know.
A quick pause in today's episode to share some of my must-try products at youmusttryit.com. Through the Aging Project, I've learned managing stress is something to be intentional about, which is why over at youmusttryit.com, we've created a stress and sleep page with all of our favorite products. After today's episode, go check out the Shakti mat. This is an acupressure mat with over 6,000 spikes. Yes, I swear by it, as do so many of our customers. Even previous guest, Dr. Peter Wright from the Vera Wellness Clinic, said, "I love this mat, Shelley. Thank you." It is my pleasure, Dr. Peter. To grab yours, just go to youmusttryit.com and type Shakti. That's Shakti. You'll also find essential oils, supplements, and organic teas, all designed to reduce stress and aid sleep. Trust me, all are a must try. Just go to youmusttryit.com for a 10% discount off your first order and to join our community. It sounds like a beautiful relationship. I think we should all be searching out someone that we can have that ongoing relationship of health with, not illness with. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the role of energy. And I'm really into this at the moment, this whole idea that the energy that flows through us and within us and the fluid, I suppose, that moves around our body, there's not just fluid in your blood or fluid in your muscles, the fluid in the brain, it all flows from top to bottom and inside out, and probably carries that energy through our whole bodies. Like this fascinates me, this system. Is it the lymphatic system or
Oh,
just
yes.
an energy system within us?
It's, do you know that I did a course do you know the Daily Om?
Oh, we'll talk about the yes. Okay, let's kick off
I
with the
just did
daily
a big
om. So
lymphatics course for them.
this
Uh,
is a course that you have that
A
breaks
course that
down.
they have that I
Yes.
wrote for them. I think it's a
Mhm.
10-module course, like over 13,000 people have taken it, and it's a science-based they what do they call it? Science-based lymphatic, drainage rescue or something like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
But instead of me telling you what to do, I explain to you, like, my whole thing is that knowledge is power. So I say I teach medical literacy and lifestyle competency. I can tell you to drink water all day long, but until I sit there and tell you every system in your body, as I can come up with it off the top of my head, that absolutely depends on your proper hydration for good functioning, the lymphatic system probably at the top of that list, then it means nothing. I'm just telling you to drink water. But if you go, "Oh my gosh, like my skin and my lymph and my blood and my hair and my nails and my eyes and my saliva and my breast milk and my menstrual blood, blah, blah, blah," like all like on into menopause, how hydrated I am for the 30 years beyond into menopause is going to help affect my menopause. And I'm like, of course it is. How could it not? So energy and fluid. This is one of the few terms in Chinese medicine that I bring up a lot, but qi. Qi is a hard one because we don't actually have a translatable word for it in Western medicine, Western world. We often use the term energy as synonymously, but it lacks because energy by definition can be measured and chi cannot. But chi is of everything. Chi is what makes us alive. Chi flows in all things in the world. Chi flows in our body within our lymphatic system and our blood because it's formless. But but lymphatic fluids and blood could not exist without chi. It is the concept of yin and yang. It's interdependent and intradependent. One can't exist without the other, and they transform into one another endlessly. Endlessly. So, one of the biggest things I teach is this concept of using your daily physical energy as your gas gauge as to how well you're doing on a day to day basis. So your energy level should match what you're asking its output to be on the daily.
Mhm.
If you're tired, you're not doing it right. Now, I recently went to a dear friend of mine. I was having lunch with Sarah Gottfried, another famous doctor who in women's health, and I said, "Gosh, Sarah, my energy is just waning." And she looked at me and she said, "Jennifer, it is not." And I said, "Excuse." It feels like it. And she said, when you want to go for a hike with your husband, do you have energy for it? And I'm like, yeah. And when your children come home from college, do you have energy to hang out with them? And I'm like, yeah. And do you have energy for blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yes. And she said, you're just recalibrating and choosing where to put it. It hasn't gone anywhere.
Mm.
So this idea of the energy that flows through our body and using our energy as a gauge every day to know whether we're doing life right is the thing that I teach. I call it the epic 8. And that gauge, so we have two different kinds of energy. It's very overly simplified, but in East Asian medicine, two different kinds of energy. We have prenatal, and prenatal is what we're born with already, and it is finite. When it runs out, we all die. And
Mhm.
it has jobs. Genetics is one of them, but not the only one. Its job is for our growth and development and our aging, how we age. And we tap into it in life for very specific, important things: childbirth, emergencies, recovery from surgeries, and severe illness.
Mhm.
And we can tap into it anytime we want, but it's finite. We should not be tapping into it because it's Wednesday, right? Then we have postnatal energy, and postnatal energy is infinite. And it's infinite because we replenish it every single day for our activities of daily living, whatever that level is. And there's 8 things that I focus on in this epic 8, and it's all based on Chinese medicine theory: diet, hydration, sleep, breath work, movement and exercise, gut health and pooping. And to these 6, I add 2 practices: the practice of finding joy and awe every day, because the research at my institution at UCSF from Dr. Keltner is that joy and awe's effect on our innate immune systems is irrefutable, not to mention what it does to our mood. And what is joy? Joy is like gratitude, of course, but it's happiness and laughter and ease and grace and flexibility and play, right? And I say that's an inside job. But we have days when we can't muster up that inside job, and then we have awe, right? Awe is not always positive, but we can always usually find something in modern first world. We're not at war, we're not hungry. We can find something to be in awe of. And just look around where I live, at the base of a mountain by the bay. There's always something to be in awe
Mhm.
of. And I say that that's an outside job. So when you can't muster the inside, you can find something on the outside. And then the 8th one, which is honestly, I think the hardest of them all, is tools to not embody stress. And it's not a statement about not having stress. It's modern life. I don't live under a rock. It's tools about learning how to differentiate the difference between a bad grade or an inconvenient email that just niggled right under your skin, and when a saber-toothed tiger is chasing you. We should not be releasing the same stress hormones when we get an inconvenient email as we would if a tiger was chasing. But we are, and we're doing it more frequently than a tiger would have been chasing us, and it's
Mhm.
making us sick. So sometimes I feel like I'm a one-woman army out there in the world saying that your value and your lovability are not tied into your productivity.
Mm.
That if you are not stressed out and multitasking, you're doing it right, not wrong. And
And
that I
another incredible Western concept, isn't it? The busier we are, the more successful we are.
that Michelle Wolf, the comedian that says, "Whoever said we should have it all?" I don't want to have it all. Um, so this notion of how our chi flows and how we spend our energy, we can replenish this postnatal infinite daily chi by eating well and hydrating well and sleeping well and breathing well and moving well and having healthy gut and poops, finding joy and awe, and being able to differentiate when a tiger's actually chasing us and when it's not. And when we're doing these 8 things well, there are predictable outcomes.
Mhm.
1, to your point, our energy is consistent. 2, our moods are stable. 3, we are up regulating good genes and we are down regulating bad genes. 4, our immune systems are strong. And 5, we're either avoiding illness or we're having better outcomes to treatment of illness, or, and this is my clinical experience, we are doing the best we can at participating at avoiding recurrence of illness.
Mhm.
Now, if we are using our prenatal energy because it's a hard Wednesday, we are depleting our finite source of energy.
Mhm.
Over time, it leads to illness. It leads to mental illness, physical illness. So the goal is to learn those 8 well enough so that you're not taking a loan that you can never repay from your prenatal source. So that is the flow of energy in our bodies. So recognizing when the left shoulder hurts, recognizing when you drink wine, you sleep less, your hot flashes are worse, realizing that coffee now is like a direct main line into an anxiety attack, like recognizing cause and effect between how this chi flows in our body smoothly calmly, without pain, without anxiety, with enough energy.
Mhm.
So the lymphatic system is a direct correlation into our immune system. You can't think of one without the other. And that would be a whole other podcast because that one lights me up too.
Well, this idea of checking in with yourself every day, and if you keep those 8 things in mind, the epic 8, as you say, diet, hydration, sleep, breathing, movement and exercise, your gut and bowel movements, the finding joy and awe, which I love, and that not embodying stress. If you check in with the epic 8 every day, or even a few times during the day, you're actually taking ownership, aren't you, of your own health, and just using the word chi to encompass how you actually feel. As you say, there's not really a Western word for that, but if we're all able to adopt that idea of how is my chi today? How am I chiing today? Whatever that might be, it just brings your own health to the forefront of your minds, not the email, not the list of chores that we have to do for the day, but how am I today and how am I going to get through all these things that I've now created for myself in my world? If my
Mhm.
epic 8 are feeling good, then things are going to go more smoothly for us.
And conversely, if you're not feeling well, what did I eat and when? Have I drank enough water? How was my sleep and how can I make it better? How can I have better sleep hygiene tonight? Like you actually have a toolbox every day to go back and check in and figure out what did I do well and what did I not do well? Instead of it being some crazy amorphous concept where I just don't feel well and I don't know why.
It should be all that matters, isn't it, Jennifer? Like I said in the intro to you, our health as we get older is really all that should matter or should be the top priority, because we always say, fit your own oxygen mask first and then help others. We just forget that on the daily and it seems selfish. And again, whether this is a Western concept, I don't know, but or whether it's just a female way of life, or whether it's just when you love people, you want to look after them first before yourself. But you can't. You have to look after yourself first.
Can I offer a reframe on self-care?
Please.
So self-care is a revolutionary act. It was presented as a revolutionary act, but it's not the same. People say, well, why? That sounds very self-centered. And I'm like, that's such a good, the differentiation is self-centered behavior is something you only do for you.
Mhm.
Self-care, like the oxygen mask, is taking care of yourself first. So you are then a better friend, partner, wife, mother, family member, community member, member of society, steward of the planet. I mean, it's a ripple effect of I'm going to role model well. I'm going to be able to show up without taking more than my fair share of resources. I'm going to do everything I can because inevitably we're all going to show up with genetics and all kinds of other things. But we don't need to invite the extra suffering by not taking care of ourselves. So really, it's a selfless act to be a better community, family, community, societal, planetary participant. So that's my reframe on self-care.
Because when you feel good, you're happy to share that with everybody, right? When you feel bad, you
You
become
can't pour from an
insular,
empty
you get
vessel.
angry, you're frustrated, you take it out on the people around you. I know that I certainly do. When I feel good, I want to share that good feeling with everyone around me.
Yes. And you can't pour from an empty vessel, right? So if you have no chi in your cup, what are you pouring? So replenish your chi and then sprinkle it all over the place.
We're learning that. It's a slow, long lesson, Jennifer, but we
Yeah.
are getting there. And I think that Epic 8, if we keep those front of mind all the time, it's certainly going to help us along our way. We're talking about sort of exploring East Asian medicine for the first time. Where would you start? And I know we talked about different modalities and you can't just do one without the other. But if you were going to introduce someone to some of these new ideas for the first time, where's a good place to begin?
There are books, but it's a foreign language. Even in English, these concepts are not readily or easily understood to a Western mind. And so, as opposed to books, I'm going to go as I say, since acupuncture stimulates the vagus nerve, so it upregulates your parasympathetic rest and digest, and it downregulates your sympathetic fight, flight, freeze, lizard brain, limbic system self. I would actually say go get an acupuncture treatment.
And for no reason. You're allowed to walk in there and say, "There is no reason for me to be here."
That's why I mean, that's how I applied to grad school. I want to experience this. I would actually say that the best thing would be to go. I love referrals from someone that you know, a coworker, a friend, family member, and go experience an acupuncture session. And 9 out of every 10 people will be like, "Oh, I get it."
Mhm.
Plus being heard. I mean, I teach humanism in medicine. I lecture on it no matter what they ask me to lecture on. I'm always bringing it back to humanism and medicine. And I tell med students all the time that if you really want to be a good clinician, be a good listener,
Mhm.
because such a huge part of the healing process is being seen and heard. So if you want really good outcomes, listen and care for your patients. You will become the you will be a better doctor, but your life will be enriched by learning how to show up for people in that way. It's not going to drain you because you care. What drains you is creating a chasm and dissociating from the people you're caring for. So acupuncturists, Chinese medicine practitioners, East Asian medicine practitioners, we are all trained in this listening and caring for. I always say if you let a patient talk long enough, they'll always diagnose themselves. We just listen. So I would say go have the experience. Um, the needles are all sterile and disposable. They're a little thicker than a piece of hair. There's lots of different styles of actual needling, with Japanese probably being the gentlest style of like actual needling technique. Um, but I would get a referral from a friend or family member, coworker, and just go have the experience.
Okay, well, let's break this down because I know I do partake in acupuncture, and I know my body does the talking. So I can walk in there thinking that there's nothing going on, and the fact that the needle actually won't go in to certain spots or bounces back or bounces out or vibrates crazily, there's something going on that my body needs me to know. But again, let's just, for no one, for people who haven't had the experience, the needles are what, about 20 centimeters, 15, 20 centimeters long. As you
They
say, they're as
are,
thin as a tiny hair.
yes, they're just so tiny. They're like, what's an inch? 30 centimeters, I think is an inch.
3 centimeters?
30
That's about that
centimeters,
long?
30 millimeters, I
They're
mean,
about
yeah.
this long? Yep.
And then they're just like you have to have good technique because they would just bend all over the place. If and so what happens is many people use a guide tube. Oh, I didn't think to bring one. And they tap it through that guide tube, and that gets it through the first 7 layers of skin, which is where most of your nerve endings are. And then from there, like it releases endorphins, or like if there's an injury, it sends things to the site to heal tissues. I mean, there's so many different things that are, from a Western perspective, stimulated with the needles. It's so funny. I was like, I couldn't help it. I was like feeling your pulses in my mind when you were describing what your needles
Oh,
do.
I could feel the twitch in my right glute as I was talking about it. Like, I could feel that thing is not going in where it should.
Squirt needles are a little thicker than most, longer than most, and thicker. But for the most people that are going just for like a stress relief or an immune system tune-up, they're not that big. And so you're gonna fill out paperwork. You're gonna go in. You're gonna have a nice conversation about all the systems in your body. They're gonna feel your pulses. They feel 9 pulses on each wrist that can take on any of 28 different qualities. And then they're going to look at your tongue, and your tongue is like a map of all of your internal organs. And through the questioning and the pulse taking and the tongue looking, and they're going to often palpate or touch different parts of your body. And then they're going to come to a conclusion about where your body's out of balance. And they're going to choose points to rebalance you, and you get to lie there and chill out.
Sounds beautiful. And how long is a normal session?
And on average, 30 minutes. We need 20 minutes for a full cycle of chi to circulate through all 12 channels. They can go up to 40. So as few as 20 and as many as 40 to 45.
It sounds like a beautiful way to experience, I guess, getting in touch with your own body. And as we talked about, a great place to start. How often would you have a session like this?
Mm. It's very interesting. So I practice a form of acupuncture that's pre-revolutionary in China. So again, oversimplification. There's two different kinds of Chinese medicine. There's pre-revolutionary, pre-Mao, and post-Mao. So the pre-Mao is very, very, very individualized, very traditional medicine. And then once Mao was in, he tried to get rid of it. There was a big pushback, and he accepted a protocolized version of acupuncture, where what you complain about, there is a preset set of points. I don't do that. I write research based on very traditional Chinese medicine. I make sure that we get to do it pragmatically. So, I just completely forgot your question because I started thinking about
Oh,
Chinese.
that's right. How many sessions can you
Oh,
have? How
how
often should you undertake a session?
So acupuncture was originally meant to be done 5 to 11 days in a row with a
Oh,
3-day break. Then 5 to 11, 9 to 11, excuse me, 9 to 11 days in a row, 3-day break, 9 to 11, 3-day break, 9 to 11. That was considered a single course of treatment.
wow.
The fact that we can do it once a week here and get outcomes is astounding to me. So, if you are going in because something is wrong, let's say you're going in because you're experiencing migraines, let's say they're hormonal, you would want to go at least once a week because women are or in 4-week cycles. And so different things need to be done every week for you to not
Mhm,
have this hormonal thing. If
mhm.
you're going in because you're stressed, you should be having regular acupuncture when you're not stressed, but you can do it more when and during more stressful times. I would say for people that are just doing maintenance, I see them once a month, once a quarter. For people that are actively having a problem, no less than once a week.
It sounds like a beautiful way to take care of yourself. It sounds like a lovely way to outsource, again, the care. We can't sit with our GP and just say, "No, I'm feeling good, but I'm here to have a chat." To take the time to book yourself in for some acupuncture sounds like a wonderful first step in self care.
I mean, I think so. I've dedicated my entire life to it. I've seen thousands of people in my career, and um, I think that one of the reasons that people find it so powerful is not just the experience of it, but the feeling that they're taking a role, they're taking charge of their own health. It's something that they can participate in. It's something that they can do, um, as opposed to just popping a pill or
Mhm.
going in for imaging. And I think that that active role, when they feel that the outcomes are positive, is, I think that's worth everything. That empowerment of participating in your health, making yourself better. I always said, like, so what's wrong with placebo? I'm always like, wouldn't that be the best possible outcome if everybody could just make themselves better? Um, and I think that acupuncture, the relationship with the clinician, I think, is part of the healing process.
Mhm.
The empowerment of participating in your own health is part of the healing process. And then the power of the needles and the herbs and the
Mhm.
lifestyle adjustments. I think it's all of it's a marriage of all those things. It's a polyamorous relationship.
Dr. Jennifer, I love it all. I love it. I love this conversation. I love the fact that we are hopefully introducing people to the idea of their inner chi, their outer chi, just
Mhm.
chi in general. And I think it's such a lovely way to, I guess, look at your own health and what you're bringing into the world and how you're, I guess, projecting yourself into the world. And I'm sure we all want to bring better chi to the people around us, but that again takes some self care.
It does. And Shelley, I think that to menopause specifically, East Asian medicine has so much to offer in the face of women that are suffering through menopause. Um, menopause is not pathological in East Asian medicine. Pathological is what, or pathological would mean that it was wrong. Menopause in East Asian medicine is what's supposed to be happening. It's a season, and what we're not taught or what we're not allowed to do in Western culture is to be able to adjust our lifestyle to meet the season we're in. So one of the things that I really like to talk about is taking the power back from thinking that your body's betrayed you or that you're somehow in some state of decline. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and there's ways to meet it more harmoniously. And part of that is not trying to act like we're 30, but allowing ourselves to feel vital and smart and sexy and beautiful and valuable and relevant at this season, right? I think we can partner with the seasons as we age. We just need the language to know how.
You've got a book coming out next year on menopause specifically. That was a little sneak peek for us all. And I love the fact you don't just refer to it as a season, but it's an absolutely natural state of life if we're lucky enough to reach it. And I'm sure we've all got friends and family who haven't been lucky enough to reach this point in their lives. And I think it's something that should be celebrated and not frowned upon.
Yeah. We're only one of 3 or 4 species that keep females around long past our fertile years, and there's many theories about why that is from an anthropological perspective, but my favorite is the grandmother theory, which is that by keeping females around longer that have gained wisdom, when we've gained wisdom that can only be obtained through time, that the resources that are saved within a group by having wise elder females around to care for, raise, not just the littles, but also the bigs, like what we have to offer, and that can't be offered in younger years. And the value for a species outweighs the need for the resources that we would use, that we do use through maintaining existence into older years. And those are chimpanzees, Asian elephants, a bunch of whale species, and humans, the larger brained ones. Not humans, I mean species.
I'm very happy to be included amongst those beautiful creatures on this planet. And I think that's such an empowering message, Jennifer, that we have a greater purpose, perhaps, in our elder years than we found in our younger years. That for those of us that struggled to find our place in our younger years, this is our coming of power. And for those who thought that their, the middle time, their high life when they're in their prime was their prime, how wonderful to know that no, there's still great things to come and that we have so much left to give. And I think as a generation, as females, aging, we need to think of it as a superpower.
It is a superpower. I think I'm not sure that this is what the title's going to be, but I think you'll love it. I think the book's going to be called The Energy Prescription.
Yeah, stick with that.
Yeah, that's the closest one.
Or in Australia, we might call that just chi you. Just go get them. Just go get them.
That's great. That's great.
It's been so wonderful talking to you today. And again, you do have an amazing power of making medicine and science and even the ancient practice of East Asian medicine seem like something so natural and so normal, and something that we all need to invest in and explore more. We're going to keep that Epic 8 front of mind, and we are going to embrace all our powers, all our energies, and head out into the world today with a much brighter forecast than we did before we spoke to you. So thank you very, very much, Dr. Jennifer.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I was so excited when I got the email to speak here. I love your platform. I love what you offer to women. I think it's so important, and you got on this so early. Please keep it up.
Oh, we're here to stay. Thank
Oh,
you.
fabulous. Fabulous. And I have a course coming out August 4th. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll give you all those details too.
I'm sure they are. We will have all your contact details in our show notes as well. I know you've done some incredible TED Talks that our audience is going to want to deep dive into. We mentioned the Daily Om course, which you have written for that organization. People are going to want to check that out as well. And your new book coming out next year. We will look for the working title and we'll certainly let our audience know, our community. We're all here, and I know we're going to be supporting you along the way now too.
Thank you so much. Lovely chatting with you.
As always, the Aging Project podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes. Always seek medical advice from a qualified practitioner.